Okay, good morning. Welcome to the May meeting of the Long Island Railroad Committee. We will start with public comments. Are there any public comments?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. We have 4 speakers registered to speak this morning. I respectfully remind all of our speakers to observe the 2-minute limit. There will be an alert you will hear and see when you have 30 seconds left. I would also like to ask our speakers to please direct their comments to matters on the agenda. The first 2 speakers are Kevin Paneros and John Michno. Kevin Paneros.
Ready? All right, good morning. My name is Kevin Paneros. I'm here to talk about the Long Island Railroad status. I do also take it each weekend to do station tours for my YouTube channel and discover new places across the island. I'll begin by saying that current service isn't convincing, but after viewing this month's committee meeting report, I see that it'll begin to improve, and I'm pleased to hear this news because I could pretty much tell that Philip Eng is doing a lot of work to try to fix up the current service of the actual railroad. However, last Thursday, a bus accident occurred in the highway at New Jersey that led to 2 deaths. Which is why I don't accept school buses subsidizing service during track work because of both safety and logistical reasons. For the safety part is, we don't want to put the customers' lives at risk. And for the logistical reasons, it's just not good to carry adults in school buses. So that's the reasons for that. I asked for the Long Island Railroad to provide only coach buses because they are secure, ensures reliability, and it'll certainly improve customer experience. I also noticed that the Babylon branch gets station enhancements, more trains, and keeps its half-hourly service. I pretty much think all branches deserve the same luxury, and also I believe that parking near stations should not require permits. I pretty much think it should be free at all times. Also, urgent improvements are also needed. I'm concerned with the conditions at certain stations where I see cracks at platforms, unstable overpasses, no benches, and temporary platforms. Stations like Woodside, Metz Woods Point, Nostrand Avenue, East New York, and Deer Park are examples. The 2 that I think pretty much needs a lot of attention is both Nostrand Avenue and East New York.
30 seconds. Wrap up.
The wooden ties at stations on the mainland are also rotting, and it needs to be replaced. Equipment issues are also causing delays, which is why maintenance needs to be a priority from now on, and trains that don't have PTC need to be removed. I also urge for the LIRR to install cameras on all grade crossings, even adding gates to prevent cars from entering both the tracks and platforms to avoid extensive delays. Alternate transportation needs to be assessed when service is suspended in certain branches. Taxis nearby stations are charging double for cab rides across the island and are basically ripping people off.
Please wrap up the comments.
5 more seconds, sorry. Customers also mentioned this on Twitter because of this. Why not send MTA buses to help accommodate service when it's suspended? For one thing, Nice Bus isn't reliable, and so is overpriced taxi rides. To wrap it up, there has been a widespread of the MS-13 in areas such as Hempstead, Brentwood, Central Islip, Huntington, and Riverhead, and it's basically bringing fear to thousands of Long Islanders, and we need to put an end to this situation. And with the new face leading the railroad, I firmly believe that President Philip Eng will have the power to restore better service and to make sure that both safety and rationality is assured on the railroad. And that concludes my speech.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is John Michno, followed by Murray Bowden.
First off, I want to thank our new Long Island Railroad President, Philip Eng. I'm very pleased to see that this much-needed change in management at the Long Island Railroad has finally taken place. I come here to share my concerns about Long Island Railroad service, particularly on the main line, which has suffered neglect and countless weekends of reduced service this year, while the Babylon branch is impacted extremely minimal by the signal work at Howell. However, I am pleased that according to today's agenda, the work there this month will not be impacting us as severely, and that Mineola will be getting back the weekend service that should have never been taken away in the first place. The cuts have been hurting our community's economy, and I very much appreciate Mr. Eng's effort of listening to our concerns, and I want to thank him for hearing us. The other concern I want to bring to your attention is the lack of and often poor quality of alternative transportation that is being provided to customers during unplanned and planned service disruptions. There is no reason why the MTA, which owns thousands of buses, should not be providing transportation to its customers, many of whom pay hundreds of dollars to the MTA each month for transportation. School buses are not meant to carry adults, and tragically can be quite dangerous on highways, as we have recently seen in New Jersey. In addition, on May 3rd, riders on the Oyster Bay branch were left completely stranded getting home due to an incident in Glen Cove. No buses were provided, forcing passengers to take price-gouging taxi services in Mineola. Sometimes I have to wonder, is someone at the MTA getting kickbacks? Because there's no logical reason not to have MTA buses available and on scene over 2 hours after an incident first began. In conclusion, I hope we are finally seeing an era of change at the Long Island Railroad, and I appreciate you listening to my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Mary Bowden, followed by Orrin Getz.
I often speak about the crossing lights at railroad crossings on Long Island. It's important because it's symbolic of the inability of various units to use the latest technology. Crossing lights, flashing red lights, were developed years before traffic lights were there, and they're confusing. And the inability to deal with that issue reflects on positive train control. The Federal Highway Administration knows the current system of positive train control is outdated because they've asked for an upgrade. My comment is there already. The inability to change a small item, like railroad crossings, means you can't change positive train control either. My car knows where it is and stops automatically. There are trains in Australia that run by themselves in the middle of nowhere with no fiber. The federal government cannot change to correct positive train control, which is satellite GPS control, like my car and like many of your cars, for the same reason you can't correct a simple thing like railroad crossing lights. Beep, I know. I have a hearing problem. Until you can tackle a simple item like using only traffic lights at railroad crossings, control with a camera to issue tickets for people who pass it. Until you can solve that problem, you're spending billions of dollars on positive train control, as I said in the first meeting.
Please wrap it up.
I know. The dark areas north of Poughkeepsie will remain dark, and they don't have to. This is a safety issue, nothing more.
Thank you very much.
Our last speaker is Orrin Getz.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. My name is Orrin Getz. Okay. Real quick. I know the Long Island Railroad is looking around for extra locomotive hold cars. One thing you may want to do with the discussion that was at the Metro North Committee meeting is talk to New Jersey Transit. Jersey Transit has a whole fleet of 49 cars that were pulled out of service when they were 19 years old. Possibly some of them are still in a condition that they can be restored, especially by Metro North, and possibly some of those cars could be fixed up and put into service on the Long Island Railroad, and maybe Metro North also. They're just like the cars that Metro North runs now on the Harlem, Hudson, and New Haven lines. So it's a good chance to look into those cars and see if there's a possibility of acquiring some of them from New Jersey Transit and fixing them up and using them both on the Long Island Railroad and also on Metro North. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our speakers for today.
Thank you. I have the minutes of the April 23rd meeting. Is there a motion to approve? A second. All in favor? Aye. Phil, are there any changes to the work plan?
Chairman, no changes.
No changes. Okay. Why don't you then go into your report?
So good morning. Since I've arrived at the railroad, my first order of business has been to take stock of where our system is today and where it needs to go. I've taken advantage of every opportunity and been deliberate in speaking to both our valued customers and our hard-working Long Island Railroad employees to hear firsthand where our challenges lie. The message I've heard is loud and clear that we need to get back to the basics, providing our customers with reliable service, real-time information, clean stations, clean trains, and clean facilities. You've heard this described as previously as the Long Island Railroad Performance Improvement Plan, or the PIP. Over the last several weeks, I've been working with staff to reimagine the PIP and infuse it with some new ideas, new energy, and urgency. From my perspective, performance improvement is something we have to do every day, and every accomplishment is a stepping stone to be better and not to the end point. So while we know we need to improve service today, we also need to keep an eye on the future. Everything we do from here on out will be known as Long Island Railroad Forward. I think of this less not so much a plan, but more of a philosophy and a mindset. It's a blueprint for a new way of thinking when we tackle our problems and evaluate our effectiveness. More than anything, this is about putting riders first in all aspects of our work. Thankfully, our customers have let us know what is important and what they want. So what do our customers want? They want to get to where they need to go without a second thought. They want a seamless, they want a safe, and they want a comfortable trip. So this past month, my team and I have honed in on the steps we need to take, both in the short, the medium, and long term to achieve these goals and establish the foundation for continuous improvement. But these are not simply a list of initiatives. They are efforts towards a full culture change. It means we refuse to wait years for a new capital program in order to tackle critical maintenance issues. We will do complete permanent repairs on critical components instead of relying on quick fixes. This way we can assure that the components will last. We will fully capitalize on planned service outages, working more efficiently so that problems do not linger or repeat. The steps I outline are only the beginning to developing a dependable and customer-focused Long Island Railroad for generations to come. So first we have to improve system reliability. This means ensuring a robust and proactive maintenance program, addressing potential issues before they can cause major disruptions. We will move beyond fix and repair to get to prevent and protect. And second, we will deploy new means and methods to fortify our system from damage caused by storms, snow, leaves that fall on our tracks. And third, in today's digital age, we will provide information in a clear and accessible ways, consistent throughout our stations, our app, our websites, all the way to announcements from our workers on the front lines. This step arms our customers with information they need to take in their commutes and be able to assure that they can get to their destinations on time. So in reviewing the prior plan, my team and I have made meaningful modifications to move Long Island Railroad forward. We are going to be more aggressive and tactical in responding to assets that perpetually fail. In 2017, we had 205 switch failures system-wide. I've implemented a new initiative to repair and replace our top 10 most problematic switches in the next 6 months. These switches alone cause over 40% of the failures on our system. And as I promised 4 weeks ago, repairs on switch 25 at Jamaica are near completion. We're similarly tackling 370 track circuits that cause 36% of our track failures. These are also located within 5 of our most highly trafficked interlockings. So it comes as no surprise that we need to retool and think more tactically about our grade crossings to improve safety for motorists, for our customers, for our employees. And while we look to improve safety, we will improve reliability. Over 400 delays were caused by vehicles on tracks last year, and we decided that we need to act now. In just 1 month, delineators have been installed at 43 of our 65 grade crossings where a parallel road exists. The remaining will be done by Memorial Day, over 6 months ahead of the original schedule, and we will not stop there. We've added the remaining 241 grade crossings to the work and will be installed this year. So all of our 296 grade crossings will have improved delineation and road markers. And Long Island Railroad is also partnering with Waze to ensure this popular platform mirrors our infrastructure accurately, helping to prevent drivers from inadvertently driving onto the tracks. We're underway with our agreement with them, and we're excited for them to include our grade crossings in their app over the next few weeks. And we're also similarly attacking seasonal preparedness more aggressively. Last year, we had over 2,600 trains delayed due to snowfall, thunderstorms, and heavy rains. So it may be only May, but we know snow will fall and hurricane season will come, and we will be prepared for this inevitability well before we face the challenge it creates for us. We see the damage that branches and leaves falling on tracks can cause. It is why I've ordered our team to double our vegetation management, clearing the remaining 180 miles this year, 1 year ahead of schedule. And we were initially planning to install 60 snow switch protectors over a 3-year period, with the first 20 locations to be done this year. We're pulling in that timeline, and we're doing them all before this winter, fortifying our most critical components. Third rail heaters can better prevent crippling power failures during snowfall. We've deployed third rail heaters at 14 locations and installing additional 16 locations, 3 months ahead of schedule and prior to this winter. This will help eliminate service outages and delays due to freezing temperatures, keeping trains moving on time. And we're insulating manholes, containing electrical equipment within the Atlantic Tunnel, and installing lightning protection equipment around 30 remaining interlocking locations. This will all be done before hurricane season, 3 months of our original plan. And the accountability for failure begins and ends with the Long Island Railroad. Our customers don't care who is responsible for a delay. They only care what is being done to get them back on their way, and what is being done to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. So I've reached out to our partners and discussed with them my commitment to working together to ensure that they can accomplish necessary work while balancing the need to provide service for all of our customers. I let them know that we are doing what we're doing at Long Island Railroad to improve service and communication, and how I expect them to do the same. And I plan to hold our partners accountable with us when they fail to meet our standards for responding to incidents that occur on our rails, just as I hold myself accountable. So I've let our colleagues at Amtrak, PSEG, Long Island know that this is what I expect, and what they should expect the same from the Long Island Railroad when they need cooperation from us to accomplish their goals and tasks. For example, I've requested PSEG accelerate the replacement of 80 utility poles along our right-of-way that have been recommended for replacement. I've let them know that we will provide access and we will provide flagging protection, and I'm pleased to say that they are working on accelerating that work. 22 have already been replaced to date. We're also accelerating by a year the replacement of heated threshold plates on our entire M7 fleet to reduce door incidents during the winter months. 43% of over 3,300 thresholds have been completed to date. So as we reshape our means and methods for addressing our infrastructure, we're already well underway to creating a new and improved environment for our customers. All of these initiatives have been developed and accelerated with our loyal customers in mind. And to meet their expectations during regular service, planned and unplanned work, we're employing better technology to provide real-time information clearly and consistently. We've launched arrival times at 116 stations, with the remaining to be completed within the next few weeks. New GPS devices will be installed on our M7 and diesel fleets to push out real-time information on train locations updated every 10 seconds. And this is only the beginning of our efforts to arm riders with accurate information so they can make more informed decisions. We're evaluating how we can better display information on our screens, on our app, as well as the information provided by our staff, again, on the front lines. And for our stations and car cleaning programs, a dedicated staff of car cleaners will now be positioned at 6 of our stations across the system to ensure cars are cleaned intermittently during routes, not just at the beginning or at the end of a day. And we're increasing station cleaning by 30% with better equipment for more detailed cleaning. And due to popular demand, we're expanding our ambassador program by 50% throughout all our major terminals. and to thank our customers for their loyalty and patience as we embark on a busy construction season. So this is just the new beginning, the beginning of a new way of doing business. Our hardworking trades take a lot of pride in their work and are working around the clock to meet and exceed customer expectations, striving towards a world-class railroad. We're taking a proactive approach to all the work that affects service reliability. And we're optimizing on our outages to improve safe service today as we build for a future Long Island for the whole New York metropolitan area. And it's a new Long Island Railroad from today. We're looking at everything from top to bottom. We're looking backwards for lessons learned, but from now on, it's Long Island Railroad forward. And before concluding, I'm happy to announce that the Chairman Loda, has given us the approval to launch the Long Island Railroad Summer Saturdays. It's a customer appreciation pilot program offering benefits to our Long Island Railroad monthly ticket holders. It's goodwill to non-monthly and potential future Long Island Railroad customers as well. It's a way to reward our monthly ticket customers by allowing them to travel system-wide with up to 4 additional companions for only $1 per companion, each way on 13 Saturdays between June 2nd and August 25th. In addition to offering extra value to our monthly ticket customers, the program also benefits the environment, providing a financial incentive for travelers to forego their own automobiles on summer Saturdays, and simultaneously promotes Long Island tourism industry through extended partnerships with Long Island Railroad's getaway participating vendors. So we hope to attract customers to ride Long Island Railroad destinations. We are partnering with our existing gateway vendors to extend those package discounts to monthly ticket customers. And we'll also be working with Discover Long Island, as well as individual merchants, to create a list of participating vendors offering more special discounts. The fare median for the Long Island Railroad Summer Saturdays is modeled on our existing family fare ticket that allows up to 4 children, ages 5 to 11, and children under 5 that ride free, but to ride for $1 each when accompanied by a fare-paying adult. So this pilot extends this offer to adults as well when traveling with a monthly customer ticket, and in effect becomes a system-wide pass on summer Saturdays. However, because of capacity concerns, we are excluding 3 morning eastbound Montauk trains and 1 eastbound morning Greenport train that is now near full capacity. In addition, travel to special events such as the Belmont Stake and the USGA Golf Championship at Shinnecock are excluded. With these modifications, we anticipate that we can safely accommodate all of our customers. So we really wanted to offer something special, something of value to our loyal monthly customers, and we believe this program accomplishes that and demonstrates to our customers how much we appreciate them. The ancillary benefits include reducing carbon footprint by getting motorists out of their cars and promoting Long Island tourism industry, highlighting the unique and magnificent local destinations that exist right here in our own backyard. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil, for that comprehensive and enlightening report. I think all of us on the committee look forward to its implementation as we go forward. I'm very pleased with the summer discount program. It provides a great opportunity for Long Islanders to learn more about Long Island, which is of great interest to many people, and to use the railroad as a opportunity on Saturdays to get to and from the thousands of places on the island where people come together in that regard. So we appreciate that. Are there any comments from the committee? Vinny?
Yes. First, Phil, thanks for the presentation. It's very welcoming to see that resources are getting put back into the operations, and we're doing physical things to make our infrastructure stronger and create less problems, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you also acknowledging the importance of the workforce and utilizing the workforce to help you get this stuff done. Just to comment on the car cleanliness campaign, this effort, I know SMART General Chairman Anthony Simon is working close with the Chief Mechanical Officer Craig Daly and making the manpower issues and maneuvering things to get this done as a priority. We just want to continue to pledge our support that when the workforce sees us doing things active and putting resources where they belong, they're going to dive in and they'll be there working harder than anyone else. Thank you, Vinny. I'd like to say the men and women of the Long Island Railroad have been
very anxious to step up and help do things differently. And I do appreciate the support with regards to opportunities to improve car cleanliness and working together that management at Long Island Railroad can make sure our employees have the right tools and methods to do their task. They take a lot of pride in their work, and it's up to management to make sure we support them.
Randy?
Yeah, I'm not a horse player, but I do read papers, and Belmont Stakes now possible triple winner. So I guess you're gearing up and going to have extra service over and above what you were planning?
Yes, Randy, actually, that is something that, and as much as that adds an extra challenge to us, we're excited about the opportunity to support it. And we will be planning the extra trains as we had already anticipated, but we'll be stepping it up and handling this as we do with our other types of events. This one is a planned event, gives us opportunity to make sure that we're prepared and looking forward to that challenge.
Scott?
Yeah, Phil, great presentation, and I appreciate the plan of looking forward. And I also would echo, I'm sure that the men and women that work on Long Island Railroad are thrilled to have some positive change where they could be a part of and make the experience better. A couple of questions for you. All these things seem like great common sense. And so in accelerating some of these programs to get ahead of the curve, just what is the sort of the rationale why it wasn't done before? Was there a cost issue? Was there a management issue? I'm just trying to learn from it so that we as an organization can make sure that things that make this much common sense, that we get ahead of the curve in the future. And then, so not only the cost, but also the outages that you're now expecting, which are probably going to be more extensive to do some of the accelerated work during this period of time. Just some feel for what that might be.
Well, what I found is that a lot of the repairs that were needed, it's not that they weren't planned, it's just that they were planned as part of the capital program. So for instance, I talk about switch 25. One of the things that I noticed is that actually failed twice in one day. And speaking with the staff, the plan was that will be addressed in the next capital program. However, is what we decided is that we don't have the luxury of sitting back and continuing to better respond to those failures. So what we decided is that it actually costs us more to sit back and wait. We need to invest now, and we need to address switch 25 today. That switch is over by J Interlocking. It's just west of Jamaica Station, and when it fails, it impacts obviously our whole system, with the exception of the Port Washington branch. So those are the types of things where we're accelerating and realizing that we need to spend the money now and actually saves us in the long run. All those responses that we are implementing when that switch goes out is a cost to us. So what we're doing is the team, the engineering folks, operation folks, they're working together to find the best time to go in and do those longer term repairs. And as a result, it's maximizing those outages that we do need to do. It is a challenge to our flagging and our workforce because there's a lot of other ongoing plan construction, but at the same time, it's a philosophy that we don't have the ability to sit back and wait for these things to occur. We need to tackle them now, get ourselves back to a reliable system, and at the end, that will actually save us money. That's really what the philosophy is.
So I think at some point it would be helpful just to get a sense as to what the acceleration of that capital or repairs that's being pushed forward, which I think makes perfect sense and I'm supportive of, but just so we have some scope of it, because again, lessons learned for us in the future to make sure that we're not short-sighted and then have more cost and bad service while we're waiting to do things that we know need to be done. Right.
So we're tracking. Once we make these repairs, we will track the performance of those components, but we're also tracking incidents that are occurring off-peak, incidents that may not actually be delaying a train because of the time, but we want to make sure that we tackle those too, because if they fail during the day, if they fail during the peak, they could be just as detrimental to our performance as something that's occurring off-peak. So those are the types of measures that we're looking at right now, Scott.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I think it's clear to hear a movement forward. The railroad consists of 3 different constituencies: management, our labor unions, and our customers. And when all 3 of them work together, which is clearly the intent under this program, The railroad's going to be in great shape moving forward in that regard. And one other thing that you and I have talked about, to the gentleman who was concerned about all the outages on the main line, as a rider of the main line, we all know that second track will be finished this summer, and that will eliminate a lot of the outages, at least from Farmingdale to Ronkonkoma, and provide significant new flexibility for the railroad in that area. And that's going to be a tremendous benefit to those of us who ride that line every day.
And it's just, I wanted to add that not only, I think the third stakeholder, the fourth stakeholder is our third-party vendors like the utility. And
right.
I feel like I compliment you for bringing them in as part of the solution and collaborating with them and getting them to the table early, because I think that's critical as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Safety. Lori?
Good morning. We're reporting on our safety performance through the end of March, and that report can be found on page 29 in your book. In addition to speaking about our customer injury rate, which is down 39%, and our employee lost time injury rate, which is up 4%, I'd like to showcase an activity that recently took place on a rainy Sunday morning. We have a lot of training that we do for our first responder community on Long Island. And for those of you that may not be familiar, the first responder community on Long Island is made up largely of dedicated men and women that volunteer their time. In Nassau County alone, there are 78 different fire departments. In Suffolk County, 109 different fire departments that respond to events on Long Island Railroad property. In 2017, Nassau alone fire companies responded to 23 events, and in Suffolk, 38 events were responded to. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of unique challenges and hazards that exist in responding to an event on Long Island Railroad property. So we partnered with the Freeport Fire Department on April 29th to actually conduct a drill that gave the first responder community and our partners the opportunity to experience what it's like to actually respond to an event. And you can see from some of the pictures that are on page 29, there are steep embankments, we have obviously third rail power, we have moving equipment. There's a lot of challenges when it comes to the first responders responding. I'd like to thank John McGuire from Freeport for helping us to put together the activity, and we actually have an after-action review planned for June 5th with all of the participants. In essence, what we staged was a low-speed derailment, and the emergency responders had to actually navigate up the embankment, take their equipment through, which you can imagine is very different responding to a house fire than going into a very narrow M7 car. And it really was a great opportunity for us to test out our communications, our protocol, how we interact with each other. The operating departments at the Long Island Railroad were heavily involved in participating and supporting the event as well. Transportation is often the first line in connecting with the first responders. So that rainy Sunday morning really was an eye-opening event, not only for the Long Island Railroad, but for the first responder community. And we really appreciate the dedication and support that we get from those folks on Long Island, and welcome every opportunity that we can to partner with them in these types of events. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from any of the committee members? Okay, I did want to comment quickly on something we had discussed at length last month. I was glad to see, as part of the plan, the Long Island Railroad Forward, that we're working with the GPS people, for lack of a better term. I'd say it generically, not specifically, to encourage them, to encourage their people who use the systems, that just because it says make a right turn, you don't make a right turn on a railroad track. You know, as I always say, the GPS lady in the car is a suggestion, it is not a requirement. And please understand that our tracks are there, and know where you're going when you're listening to the GPS in that regard, so you don't end up a place you're not supposed to be. And that not only delays our trains, but it could be a very safety issue for the driver in that regard. And so if you could provide us with input as that goes along with them, that would be very helpful in that regard. All right. Capital construction.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Chair. Committee members, I want to start off by this morning, if I may, by thanking the committee for the attention and the input last month as I reported on the East Side Access project budget and schedule update. With the focus of that meeting and from the board, we have made significant progress in communicating to decision makers and to the public at large the importance of the project, what it's meant to do, where it is, what it will deliver for Long Islanders, but also for New York City residents and everybody in the region. And as well as talking honestly and openly about the problems and complexities of that project. So I thank you. One area where we've made, I think, significant progress is that the press has brought focus on the project. We've gotten several helpful editorials, and elected officials are starting to hone in on what the project means for Long Island and to help us overcome some of the barriers that we've talked to you about. I'm especially grateful to Congressman Swazi and Congresswoman Maloney and Congressman Crowley, who've been initiating a little bit of letter writing in support of some of the issues that we're trying to address with our federal partner in Amtrak. One tangible sign of progress is that we've reached the point where I'm able to tell you that we are now bidding the last major construction contract for East Side Access, the so-called BC tunnel approach. It's the center tunnel you see marked in yellow on that visual, connecting into the approach to Grand Central. It's among the most challenging. I'd say we've saved the best for last, for better or worse. The work's going to take place between two active tracks, the main line number 2 and the Port Washington 1 tracks, and also beneath the 39th Street Bridge. There's 65 feet in that 65-foot dimension between those two tracks, but as a practical matter, you have probably less than 50 feet to work in because of the constraints on how close you can get from the center line of a track before you require an outage. So this is in keeping with some of the challenges of Harold in general, that you're trying to accomplish really complicated work in a very constrained environment. And just to bring the point home, all of the stuff that you see in red is going to have to be reconfigured as we do this work, the BC tunnel approach. In addition to underpinning the 39th Street Bridge, which is, you have to underpin it, do temporary support of the bridge, and then do the permanent supports and transfer the load. So it's not uncomplicated work, and especially complicated in a very, very busy rail operations environment. But that said, with the changes that we made in recent months, I'm confident that we have a team on our side that is ready to effectively manage this work. But I have to tell you again that like so much of the work in Harold and Sunnyside Yard area, it does depend on Amtrak support and staffing. So let me turn to that topic. Subject to some controversy, but I do need to keep letting everybody know where we stand. There were initially hints of Amtrak taking notice of our concerns and complaints about their staffing, and we did, and they did indicate to us that they were in the process of transferring people from other regions to New York, especially these electric traction power linemen that are required for both the access and protection and to actually work on the catenary. So they are, I think, saying the right things, and I think they are trying to accomplish some changes. But as a factual matter, through the end of April, Amtrak continued to fall significantly short on providing resources, and we're not showing improvement in April or May so far. We're continuing to push Amtrak to meet their commitments, and as I said, we've engaged with some of our federal officials to help in that discussion. We're meeting with Amtrak. We're meeting with them this week, and it's all operating in good faith, but it is very important that some progress be made so that the project can, the Harold component of the project can pick up steam and move towards conclusion more effectively than some elements of the past. So I thank you for listening, and I'm obviously prepared to take any questions that you may have.
Questions? Jamie?
General, thank you for the presentation and for what is obviously continued tremendous efforts and thought being applied to try and bring this thing to conclusion. And maybe I just can't remember. I think I asked something along these lines in the last meeting, but it looks like you're starting to have some good data points on Amtrak performance. Obviously, it's a big dependency for us. Do the plans that we have today presume them performing according to the expectation line or to the average of the actual performance line?
I think you asked me that question.
I did.
I answered by saying I think we have taken a responsible approach to planning in light of Amtrak's, historic limitations. So I don't say that we have planned that the world is going to change overnight. But I think that we do need this element of the project to be moved in a more rational trajectory than it has been in the past. Right now, we are, I think, there are about 70+% of the tasks that were not completed on contract within the Harold interlocking area last month were attributable to Amtrak issues. So that is the same level that we've had in the past.
Well,
and we're continuing to work on it, but we're not planning, we're not expecting that somehow that 72% goes to zero, if that's your question.
Well, my question is really, if it stays along the trajectory of the delivered line, I presume that means we're back in this room at some point talking about dollars again. And are there mitigations, more extreme mitigations that can happen beyond those we've undertaken if that's going to be the reality? Is that trajectory, or is it such that you've done everything you can and you're doing everything you can to align understanding their historical performance? I'm just trying to think of ways we could not be back in this room talking about hundreds of millions of dollars again, and it seems like a lot of that depends on them.
Well, so I think we took a significant step when we, in effect, told Amtrak that the funds which had previously been set aside for the so-called regional investment work, which was work that was all for their benefit. Harold is significantly benefiting Amtrak, but also the other railroad users. When we said that we are, for the time being, taking that money and putting it towards the East Side Access Project and partial mitigation of some of the difficulties we've had as a result of Amtrak. I think it's a fair question. I would ask you to give me some time rather than prematurely planning for Amtrak not to get any better, and in effect opening that door. I would like to continue the dialogue with the committee based on the trajectory that the Amtrak dialogue takes in the months to come. They are meeting with us. They are taking actions to try to address the problem. They're saying the right things and they're doing some things, but it's premature to say that we have to plan a doomsday scenario for their failure.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I understand the delicate balance we're striking of not making that the expectation and an acceptable one, and I would only ask that you consider that any dollars that we have to come back and talk about again essentially most likely encumber the next 5-year capital plan, as we kind of did last time, and that has a lot of effect on priorities and wherewithal of that plan, and we've got to keep talking and making sure we strike the right balance of all of that.
It's point well taken. We talked last month about we have significant contingency, but we need to monitor that, and I'm prepared to continue that dialogue regularly with the committee.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Anyone else? I've told Jano on a number of occasions the next time we want to talk about East Side Access is 2022 when we talk about the opening. That's the next time I want to talk about East Side Access. Until then, we'll just let Jano move his way along with his staff, and then he'll come back to say, we're all ready, now let's plan, right?
Absolutely.
That's good, okay. That's our agreement, okay. Anything else from Capital Construction? We're done?
Not
Okay.
at this time.
Chief?
Good morning. At the Metro North Committee meeting, I mentioned that last Friday, MTA Police Department celebrated 122 award winners at our annual medal ceremony for outstanding police work and heroism. I thank the agency presidents and Jano Lieber for being there, showing support, and your presence was welcomed. Long Island Railroad, this past month, we experienced a decrease in major felonies of 44%. That's 5 versus 9, down 4 or 44%. We experienced 3 grand larcenies and 2 assaults on Long Island Railroad. Year to date, Long Island Railroad is 33 versus 39, or down by 6, 15%. System-wide, month of April saw total felonies up by 2, 19 versus 17. And year to date, 92 crimes versus 82, or up by 10. That concludes my report.
Questions for the chief? Chief, I assume, or maybe I won't assume one way or the other, were any of the felony assaults this year on MTA or Long Island Railroad staff, either conductors or anyone else on the train, or were they all person to person, for lack of a better term?
No, well, the breakdown of the felony assaults for the past year to date, is we had 4 assaults on conductors, 6 were on our own police officers, and 7 were others, passengers, for a total of 17 assaults for this year.
Okay. Because I know a number of years ago, state legislature passed legislation making an assault on a conductor a felony, which is why I assume it's in that category.
Correct. An assault on a conductor is a very serious crime, a felony.
Right.
And those assaults against conductors and police officers, all but one resulted in an immediate arrest.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions for the chief? If not, information items. Phil?
Thanks. We have a few info items in the book, but if I can, I'd like to talk a little bit about summer service and track work.
Go right ahead.
In particular, I'd like to highlight an upcoming stretch in June that serves as a perfect illustration to the Long Island Railroad, not just being a commuter railroad, but an event railroad. And it's ones where we have some of the very extraordinary events. The weekend of June 9th marks the 150th running of the Belmont Stakes, as Randy mentioned. And with Justify's win at the Preakness, it sets up the potential Triple Crown winner opportunity for him, for that horse. And in a non-Triple Crown event, we typically get about 20,000 Long Island Railroad riders. So for this event, we're expecting possibly a doubling of that, possibly up to about 35,000 riders for that. And it's one that we're excited about the challenge, and we'll run about 20 extra trains in each direction to serve those customers, helping take cars off the road and providing a great opportunity for horse racing fans. And at the same time, Long Island LGBTQ Pride Festival is taking place in Long Beach on June 9th to the 10th. And Long Island Railroad will, again, once be providing extra service on the Long Beach branch to accommodate attendees, allowing for a car-free experience in keeping with the spirit of Long Beach's seaside and walkable attractions. Also, at the same time period, Met and Yankees will be mixing it up in a Subway Series at Citi Field. The first game is on that Friday night, June 8th, as well as games on Saturday and Sunday nights, June 9th and 10th. And, of course, Long Island Railroad, again, is the best way to go to the game for Long Islanders. It's convenient with half-hourly service to and from Mets Willets on our Port Washington branch, and easy transfers at Woodside for those that want to take this opportunity. And then rounding out the event-filled weekend, we're providing extra service for our customers attending the New York City Puerto Rican Day Parade in Manhattan. With a heavy focus on fundraising and recovery from the devastating hurricane that struck Puerto Rico, this is expected to be a larger event than usual, and the Long Island Railroad will make it easier for Long Islanders to attend and show their support with added trains on the Ronkonkoma branch. We know it's a challenging weekend. Extra service will be provided. We'll have extra staffing at various locations, but we'll be prepared, and we want to remind our customers the best way to go to these events is still the Long Island Railroad. We do play a major role in serving as a partner to these events, adding extra trains and extra service, and planning service to such major events actually begins a year in advance. Almost every department of the railroad is engaged and working through the process, working with planners to ensure that these trips are seamless and that spectacular events can be enjoyed by our riders. It's really a remarkable effort that the men and women of the railroad take to get ready for this. And then after this weekend's over, we're going to kick right into the U.S. Open. That's June 11th to June 17th. It's a high-profile tournament, and it marks the first time the Open is back on Long Island since 2004, and it's expected, obviously, to boost the local economy. So to accommodate larger number of fans that we expect to attend that, we'll implement a special service plan designed to serve the needs of our customers while ensuring that costs are minimized for the week-long event. A temporary station referred to as Shinnecock Hills is being constructed right now in Southampton. The 2004 U.S. Open in Shinnecock saw us carry over 74,000 golf enthusiasts to and from Shinnecock and Southampton. So in addition to our regular scheduled service, we will be adding more than 40 extra trains throughout the week and weekend to accommodate those expected crowds. I'd like to finally mention that our full summer service resumes on Friday, May 25th, with extra getaway trains on Fridays, including the Cannonball Run from Penn to Montauk and added weekend service to and from Greenport. Much more to come. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board? If not, okay. Interesting, all that stuff happens on one weekend. So somebody had it in for the railroad and it's scheduling in that regard, but I know we'll do the best. Everything will be fine. There is also in the book PTC status update on page 65. If anybody has any questions, I know they are making progress, and there will be a full report on that, I believe, at the next month's meeting, the joint meeting with Metro North at the June meeting in that regard. Procurements. Long Island Railroad to start.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. There are 3 items in this month's procurement package in the total amount of $4.1 million, 2 items in the non-competitive section in the amount of $865,000, and 1 item in the competitive section in the amount of $3.3 million. There are no ratifications this month. Very briefly, the 2 items in the non-competitive section are 2 contracts, 2 sole source contracts with vendors to provide repair and replacement parts for equipment that we use in our engineering department. The total amount of those 2 contracts is $865,000. The last item in the competitive section is a request to issue a contract mod to Harsco in the amount of $3,271,600 for additional use of the track laying machine and the tire rack car rental service in support of the State of Good Repair track program and the Port Jeff branch concrete tire replacement. We do have this will extend the contract through the end of this year. We do have a competitive procurement that is slated to begin to replace this contract at the conclusion of this contract, and I ask for your consideration and vote for these procurements.
Any questions on any of these 3 contracts? If not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Capital Construction.
Good morning. Capital Construction's procurement package this month totals $1.9 million and begins on page 93. There are no non-competitive or competitive items this month. There are 2 ratifications. The first item requests a ratification of a modification to the East Side Access Project's Track A cut and cover structure construction contract for additional costs incurred by the contractor due to a differing site condition. The cost of this modification is $1,030,000. The second item requests the ratification of a modification to the East Side Access Midday Storage Yard construction contract to furnish and install 2 new catenary structures and modify 14 existing catenary structures. This scope and budget is being transferred from a previous contract. The total for this modification is $870,000. These 2 items are submitted for your consideration and vote.
Any questions or comments on either of these 2 items? If not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. There are performance summaries in the book. Does anybody have any questions on any of those items? If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Thank you all very much.